Right, so I just finished tracing the Vista 300 route on my raised relief maps, which extend from here in Birmingham, a little west, Tuscaloosa, and that's as far as they made the raised relief maps. And then they went out of print, so I found the historic ones and printed out that one. But I do have a number of the actual raised relief maps, starting with the two in the center, which I got 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago, when I went to Clemson. There's a map store in Greenville, and got these two maps, and then cut them and collaged them, and then took them to a frame shop in Clemson to frame them together. And I think these all started out as the same color. Every single one of these maps was the same color, but over the years, these being the oldest, have yellowed the most, and these being the newest, which I got after finishing RAM in 2017. And then my friend Lou Fowl helped me collage them together on the stairs down to my basement. But anyway, this goes all the way up through Charlotte, West Virginia and Maryland, with the finish in Annapolis. And so that is the Annapolis, Baltimore and Annapolis in the right, way up there. But anyway, that's not what I'm focused on right now. And these are all together. I mean, obviously I didn't connect them, but they would be connected. They're all lined up so that these are connected. So these maps here are actually connected to those maps right there. And that takes us to this section right here, where the Vista 300 travels roughly 315 miles without ever intersecting on itself. And Kim has put together this amazing route. Absolutely loved it. Did it for the first time last year. And then did it again on Monday as an ITT because of so much going on at school right now. But anyway, I'm gonna take you through the route here. So if we zoom in here, you can see Delano there, and Hiawassee Beach and all that. That is the start area near G Creek. And then you do this epic climb right away up Coffee Branch Horse Trail. And one of the things that I discovered as I was trying to trace this on the map is how sharp and steep that, I mean, obviously you know it from riding it, how steep it is, but even on the map, it was hard to get the pin on or the marker on the map and get it to trace. But anyway, then you go up, and then you eventually hit some dirt roads, gravel roads, chip seal roads here on the backside, which are all on these maps. These are historic USGS maps, 1972 roads, I think, at this point. So I just traced it all the way around. You hit those roads. Then you get up here to eventually, you do some climbing through there, the Duckett Ridge, lots of climbing. I mean, so much climbing on this route. But one of my favorite roads of the whole course, this Witt Road up here, with the creek crossings and everything. Love that. That's going up there into Tellico Plains. And this year's race caught me by surprise. You know, I started earlier since I was on my own, and so all the timing was pushed up, and it just kind of threw me for a loop a couple times. But so I was surprised. I forgot how quickly you hit Tellico Plains. And then from there, you actually cross, you ride alongside the Tellico River in a really scenic area. And that's the first, presumably, I guess I've never really asked him about it, but presumably the three big rivers are the Tellico River, the Ocoee River, and then the Hiawassee River. That's what the race is named after, the three rivers. So the first major river, the Tellico River, you ride alongside that forever, and love the river road, the paved river road there. And you sort of leave right where the Chirahalla Skyway starts. I'm gonna try and put my marker out here. Chirahalla Skyway starts and starts to climb up the long ridge, but you kind of stay along the river and then end up going under through a little tunnel bridge, the Skyway, and you do a lot more climbing. But basically you climb, the big giant descent in there too, almost all the way down to the bottom. And then you hit the Indian boundary lake, is that lake right there, and the stores in there, and you do the single track, almost all of it. I thought it was more, but as looking at it, there's a little chunk that's missing. So that'll be fun because I do want to take the family up there and we will ride that whole lap at some point. But anyway, you go up there and then you start climbing on the backside to the Skyway again. And actually, it doesn't take long. The Skyway's at that intersection back there. So you're on the Chirrahalla Skyway and classing up Sassafras Ridge. And you're on the pavement for a long time. Eventually you drop off on a gravel descent all the way down. And it's before sunset, and you do this next section. This is interesting. You do a lot of up and down. That was a pretty big climb right there. And all it does start to run together, very similarly built roads, you know, trying to manage erosion and everything. So you have these switchbacks, and also the grade not being ridiculous. So these are all manageable grades, although some do get steeper than others. So lots of variety, although at the same time, it all does start to run together. But eventually you make it over here, drop down to 68. It was starting to get dark by then. I got chased by the dogs, I think, right in here before 68. And then you go through this Coker Creek, which has this welcome center, which had just closed. I think I was right around sunset by the time I hit that area. And then you hit, is that the Unicoi Turnpike? I don't remember where you hit that, but you do ride yeah, no, it is right there. That caught me by surprise, and I think I missed the turn right there and started to go down just a little ways, backtracked and realized, oh, we're doing the single track. And I forgot about that from last year, but I remembered it. And it's cool. It's a motorcycle single track, and they're very straight. They don't have as much switchbacks as like regular mountain bike trails or hiking trails. They end up being very straight, and they do it at angles on these giant mountains. They do it at angles so that it can control the slope pretty well. So they're not crazy steep. Although I do remember there's a challenge on this one, and I was trying to ride all of it. I didn't quite, trying to save energy and everything. And then you ride all that and eventually come down to, Tennessee 68 again. And you're on pavement, dropping down to back to River Road. So you end up crossing the Tellicoe River again, right down there. And of course, it's almost dark or dark by that point. Oh yeah. It was getting pretty dark by the time I went down through all that. And then of course I was getting sleepy at this point. So I'm trying to remember even what this is. So you take a right, you're staying on the paved road for a while there. It's gonna come to me in just a second, Turtletown. Oh, right, Turtletown. So that's where Betsy got bit by a pit bull somewhere in there, but it's definitely dark by the time I hit there, and I didn't end up getting chased by any dogs. I heard them barking though, definitely heard some dogs barking periodically, but I was lucky. None chased me through there. You go back up, low battery, close. Hopefully that didn't mess up the video, but I just got a low battery message. I did mess up the zoom there. There we go. Like I said, it's getting dark, and I know the main thing I was just constantly thinking about getting down to Copper Hill, get down to Copper Hill. That's all I'm thinking about through here. We're just riding roads. I think there's a mix of paved roads, chip seal roads. I think there's some dirt roads in there too. But you do eventually make it down to Copper Hill. Even when you get into Copper Hill, you make this turn, go up this hill, back sort of through the neighborhoods on the outside, and then drop right down a steep hill into town. That's kind of a fun drop, straight into town. Of course, everything's closed by this point. It's probably midnight. It's about midnight for me. And then you start working your way up. This is pretty much gradual climb, or it feels like it, up to the main highway, Ducktown, where there's a 24-hour Circle K. So I stopped there last year, I stopped there this year, and it was great this year. I think I actually fell asleep for a little bit this year. It was nowhere near as cold. Last year it was really cold. I stopped there for a while, just drinking coffee and warming up. This year I was just really sleepy. It's a little bit warmer, still getting chilly. It's like in the 50s, low 50s by this point, but it was in the 30s last year. So quite a bit warmer. But in any case, really sleepy, and I think I did fall asleep for a few minutes in the store, sitting on the floor drinking coffee. Then from there, you take old 68, which is the only 68, I think, on this road, or not 68, whatever the old state highway is, but it's US 64 now. So on this map, I think it was still, anyway, you take that until you get to the bridge over Brush Creek, I'm guessing. I guess that's the name of it. That's the creek that feeds into the Ocoee right there, right before the Whitewater Center. And so you do all the Brush Creek trails, which were, Kim was telling us that they had a late snowstorm that had so many trees down there, but those have all been cleared. There was 1 or 2 new trees that had fallen there. So much tree fall the whole race. But this is then showing the old course, which takes goes up, does Boyd Gap, not the old course, it's the current course, but this year, because of the Whitewater Center fire, they had closed Old Copper Road, which is the road right here in the middle that goes along the Ocoee River. And normally you take this really big, cool pedestrian bridge across right at the Whitewater Center to cross the Ocoee. But this year, because all those trails were closed, we had to do Boyd Gap and then pop back up. And so that's not traced here, but you pop back up on the main highway and drop down to essentially the power plant area. Forest Road 45, something 45. I guess it's National Forest 45. Anyway, and right there at Thunder Rock, the Thunder Rock campground, and you climb up from there. This is showing the Cohutta, basically the start of the Cohutta trail system, which is what the race normally used, but that part was all closed off. So then you climb up 45 and you do a bunch of climbing. Then you do some descending, and this is all blurry. This is getting sunrise by this point. Remember these roads? That's right. You get these big sweeping turns and climbs and everything. And then Silco. Yep, that's the Silco system. So yeah, so right where it says Hogback Mountain there, you do climb, and then you start your descent there, and then partway down the descent, not all the way down, you take a left. Feels like it was a right. Maybe you turn, you do like a big turn or something, but according to this map, it's basically a left, but I feel like you actually do a right turn to get in the woods, so maybe, I don't remember at this point, but it's marked, and you can tell, it's like, oh yeah, I remember this. But there's so many trees down on there this year with the Whitewater Center, it's just fire, including Coffee Branch, way back up there. Just it wasn't, the Forest Service, which normally does a phenomenal job of trimming some of these trees or removing the trees, chainsawing through the trees. Wasn't able to do that this year. So Silco had a bunch of trees down. And Ken was talking, they just fall all the time. There's so many trees through there anyway, and just with the weather and everything, they come in, the horse club, the horseback riders, and then Kim work together to clear a lot of those trees, but they just couldn't do it this year, and even when they do it, more fall. So it was fun. I mean, it's very TNGA. It's probably the most TNGA-like part of the course. Right there, through there. And then you hit the creek, and on the map, and it's happened again this year, looking at the map, thinking, oh, I'm coming up on a big road. No, you just kind of make a left, and you're on the same stuff. A little bit less trees fall down, a little bit more, less stop and go, But eventually you do make it there. You have to do a couple painful climbs back up, and then you hit road again. that's the relief, because you know you're coming up towards Benton and civilization again, and lots of pavement through here. Benton, this year I stopped in Benton. Oh yeah, because of all the tree fall that had happened somewhere way back up in there. I lost my pump. Didn't realize it until shortly before Silco, when I was thinking about, oh yeah, there's gonna be a lot of branches. I wonder if I'm gonna get a flat. And I looked down and I have no pump. So anyway, so I was just brainstorming, well, what can I do? I mean, I knew Benton would likely have a Dollar General, which they did. And so I went in there, and it was pretty much on route. You could go left just a little bit, like 2 parking lots, and then turn right to get back on route. But I went left into that Dollar General and was like, hey, it was a bigger Dollar General, but like, hey, do y'all happen to have a bike pump for sale? And I was wondering, if it was, a full-sized floor pump, if I was gonna just buy it anyway and take it with me, strap it somehow. It would have been miserable, but they didn't have that. They didn't have any kind of pump. But the clerk said, have you thought about a Fix-A-Flat? And so they had these big cans of Fix-A-Flat, and so I bought one of those, a couple pounds heavy. So I've got to have all that sealant for a regular car tire. But I have the adapter that converts from Schrader to Presta, and so it's a Schrader valve on the Fix-A-Flat can. So I was hoping that maybe it would work. Turns out I didn't need it, which was good, but I was gonna take it with me no matter what. So anyway, I did, and then right here is where you cross the Hiwassee River for the first time. And that's the 3rd river that you cross. Now that's nowhere near the finish though. So of course it's still a little bit earlier than the previous year, but it is starting to get warm. And right here, I'm actually zoomed in right here on the closed road, where this bridge, the second bridge, is a cool bridge over the railroad, that's still there. But the second one was the abandoned bridge that's been closed for years and years, but they're rebuilding the bridge. So there's a bunch of construction equipment there. You can go around on the left. It's not a big deal. So we just went around on the left. None of the workers said anything, so it was all cool, I guess. Climb up there, and then you're crossing the main highway. Actually, right. So the Amish or Mennonite farming, this whole area outside of Delano, lots of big farms, and I was very fortunate to see several horse-drawn tractors. So horse-drawn tractors actually tilling the fields and everything, and you go right through this dirt road and pop out on the paved road again, hit the big road, and then this, I was confused by this. It's 30. I guess it's 30 if it keeps on going that way. Oh, that's what it is. So you do pop on 30 for a little bit, but you make this right, and you're on this really cool, it didn't seem very busy at all. Very shady though, and I got chased by this cute little pug somewhere in here. One of the dogs. I felt so bad for it. Its little legs were just going. Anyway, but then what's coming up though, and it's hard to get the angle here. I'm gonna zoom out so you can kind of see how steep that is. But you go up this wall up to the Chilhowee campground area, which has a large amount of single track trails all over the place, and you pretty much ride them all. So I tried my best to trace that, but there's no way to really get that accurate on when you're doing this. I'll explain how I did this in a second, but then you're going back up, and then you hit the gazebo, and I actually went up to the gazebo overlook this year. Last year I was like, I'm not taking, I wasn't sure. I mean, if you had to, it was just right there next to the route. So I went up to the gazebo. Buck, yes, buck bald. So I was trying to figure out which one buck bald. We'll go back to that in a second, but this year I was going to every single overlook, even the ones on Chirahalla, and went over there. So you hit this, and last year I ran out of water basically right up there and was regretting, thinking that it was just downhill to the next store. I knew there was a store there. I think it was just downhill, but you actually do a lot of climbing. You climb up onto the second ridge, and it all looks like one ridge on this thing, but where that 3,000 is right there, 3,042, it's a separate mountain, and there's actually a climb, and you do a lot of climbing to get over there, and then you drop down. Fun. good fast, eventually paved descent down into the town where I got. But anyway, I didn't refill or didn't try anything in Chilhowee last year, and I didn't either this year because I had more liquid already. I had enough, which was fine. I made it. Last year I did not, and I rode a long time without water. Do not make that mistake this year. And then here, after that, you come up to the final climb, and that final climb is like 12 miles long, and it's black, which is the steepest possible gradient. I'm a little confused by that because it's actually a pretty gentle climb except the beginning. And I forgot how steep it was at the beginning, and it is steep. But on the Garmin, the whole entire climb shows up as black. But it's only really that first part that's really steep. And then you end up in some shade, I guess because the sun's getting lower behind some the trees and everything. And you make it all the way up there, and you start your descent. And I had imagined or tried to remember, was thinking that you hit the Smith Mountain motorcycle trail fairly early on, but it's actually pretty far down, miles down before you finally hit that. And I was going so slow, not wanting to miss the turn. And ironically, it probably cost myself 3 or 4 to maybe 5 minutes and how much slower I was going. But it was fine. It was rough. It's rough, and I didn't want to go fast anyway. But I hit the Smith Mountain Trail and lots of exposure. That's a steep area, so very straight, not a lot of turns, but very steep on either side. Down to the end, the power plant. And this is the part where I really started to turn it on, because once I was off the trail and back on paved roads, crossing that dam, or it's not a dam, it's a bridge, crossing that bridge, pedestrian bridge across the Hiwassee, I realized that I had a shot at making it in before 8 p.m. And I was like, I'm gonna go for it, try and get in before 8 p.m. Although the goal, the 39-hour time frame would be 8:18 p.m., which I was definitely going to make that, but I was like, I'll just try and get in before 8. So you're pretty flat, gradual downhill, following the Hiwassee River for a while, but then you make this cut inland, super steep climb, and then you drop off the other side, and then that takes you down to the Spring Creek Road. You take that, and then you have to cross a big crossing, but right before that, you have to hit this Mud Creek Trail, which is more just like an old access road that's all overgrown now. And the owners of the dog, the infamous dog, right before that trail had mowed it down, and no dog. So I don't know if they were being nice for the race, or if I just got lucky. But in any case, there was no dog this year, and that dog is terrifying at how fast and big and quick he comes right up on you. Anyway, so you hit that trail, and I was going fast, trying to make it 8 o'clock, and I forgot about the culvert that was only partially covered, or partially, it's got a little bridge in the middle. You have to hit it right in the middle, and I was flying right towards the left, so I skidded to a stop right at the edge and then went over it, but it was fine. I completely forgot about that. And going, you hit the creek, and I'm trying to make that 8 o'clock time, thinking I got plenty of time. I'm just gonna run across. So ran across the creek. The other side, I was sort of remembering that the other side was kind of messy, but this year there was workaround trails from some of the tree fall that's blocking Mud Creek. You can go around to the left, get back on, go around to the left again, go around to the right. Eventually you pop back on the, I think it's Spring Creek, or the other one, the detour one, that other gravel road. And that takes you back into the park. And I noticed, it was like, I've only got 1.5 miles left, but a single track, 10 minutes, I should be able to do that. And so I start off, and when you know it, just, 30 seconds into the trail, there's this massive tree down blocking the trail. And there's a workaround to the right, when you had to walk that though. And so as I was trying to walk it, I got my pedal hung up and ended up falling over backwards down the slope into the bushes. And I was just thinking, perfect. And so there's no way I was making it by 8 o'clock at that point, but I still wanted to do. So I went pretty good, and but not as fast. I knew I wasn't gonna make 8. Made it through, and I got lost a couple times trying to remember exactly because it's hard on that GPS. My GPS was struggling. 320-mile route. And then it struggles updating that map, even the brand new one at that point. So you zoom in far enough, but then there's like this delay between it updates the map as you've moved. And so you can't just zoom way in to know. So I'm trying to, where's the trail? And so I missed it a couple times, had to backtrack, but I did it all by the end, sometimes twice. And then popped out to the cut trail over to the state park, which is the official finish. And Michael Ross was waiting there. And he filmed me coming in, and it was awesome just to catch up and rehash some of the race and everything. And then we rode over together to Fireside, and Kim was coming back, and so she came in, and we were all chatting. It was great. I don't know how long we talked, hour maybe. It was awesome. I enjoyed it. I wish I had more time, because we just sat there and talked all night for sure, but I had to get back to Birmingham, so way down there, Birmingham. And ended up having to stop and sleep for a little bit on the way home. I was getting really sleepy, and that's fine. And got started with the rest of the busy week, and here we are right now. So so buck, I was trying to figure out which one of these is buck bald. This one is, I know it's after that welcome center, Coker Creek, but I don't know if it's that. Well, you got to do a couple climbs, so that's the first one, and then maybe by the eye there is the second one, and then the third one's actually buck, or maybe it's down there. I don't remember, but one of those is the bald. But I'm just wondering if it's one that says Lookout Tower, and the reason why I'm confused about that is there is no lookout tower; it's just a picnic bench. So I'm wondering if there was a lookout tower there at some point, because it says Lookout Tower. So I don't know. Interesting. But yeah, that is the Vista 300. Incredible route. Thank you so much for Kim for putting this on. And I think I'm going to stop there. That's it.